I'm Timothy Vigil, and this is Just Another Word podcast. C is for cacophony. All relationships are tough. Just like with music, sometimes you have harmony, and other times you have cacophony. Gail Foreman. Imagine with me, you're sitting in an auditorium. A high school band is preparing to play. Each of the students, novices at their instrument, are tuning and checking their equipment. The sound is fine at first, but as more and more join in, the sound grows murderous to the ears. It becomes overwhelmingly unpleasant and completely meaningless. A few minutes later, the conductor walks out, and silence reigns. And then they start to play, together, in unison. And suddenly, meaning is formed from the din. The Cambridge Dictionary defines cacophony as an unpleasant mixture of loud sounds. This fits perfectly with our example of an out-of-sync band. Even more so, it fits with the root of the word. Cacophony comes from the Greek word cacophony. Breaking that word down into its roots, we get kakos, meaning bad, and phone, meaning sound or voice. In reality, this gives us an almost identical definition to the Cambridge Dictionary. Bad sound, unpleasant sounds. And there it is, done and dusted, simple and clean, definition sorted. Except, I'd like to look at one more definition. This is the second definition given in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It says, an incongruous or chaotic mixture, a striking combination. Now that's interesting. Chaotic, incongruous. These words gives us something to sink our teeth into. We lose the literal here and move to the metaphor. See, at the heart of cacophony, according to this definition, is chaos. Going back to our band example, we see how this is so true. It wasn't just the noise that created the cacophony. It was the disorder within the noise. Once the players were all together, the cacophony faded into sweet music. Although, if you've been to a high school band concert, you know it wasn't that sweet. Most likely. Now, we've looked primarily at the way that cacophony has been historically used to speak about sound. But as so often happens with words, this one's evolved. So it's not just that we're looking at this and thinking, oh, it doesn't just mean noise. The world has. In the common parlance, we now look at cacophony as a state of overstimulation, of too much input competing for the same space. Just look at this quote from the 19th and 20th century French artist Henri Matisse. It is not enough to place colors, however beautiful, one beside the other. Colors must also react on one another. Otherwise, you have cacophony. Color, like sound, according to Matisse, require order. Or perhaps that's the wrong word. It's not order that's needed necessarily, but intentionality. When you don't have intentionality, when colors are put in ways that don't complement each other, they vibrate against the eye and they feel aggressive. Sound works in the same way. The band playing different parts that weren't meant to go together at the same time feels overwhelming, overstimulating. It feels like an attack. But how do we use cacophony as storytellers? See, cacophony is a word that defines the mess, the noise, or the distraction that keeps us from fully seeing. It's often the result of too much at once. 10 pieces of music that may be beautiful on their own, if played all together, are just meaningless. Same is true of a story told in the wrong order or overstuffed with obscure, meaningless details. So how do we avoid cacophony in our stories? Susan Boyle, the English singer who came to immense fame for her incredible voice, despite not fitting the typical mold of a superstar singer, once said, "When you're jeered at, when you're told to shut up, sit still, stop being silly, there's a cacophony of noise rolling around in your head. But when I was singing, it was peaceful." See, she didn't shut down the voices or organize her thoughts to overcome the cacophony. She added her own sound to the overlapping noises. She elevated what was pure and beautiful, her own singing, to outshine the negative. Can we do the same in a story? You see, as a word in a story, cacophony is all right. It can help you show how a character is reacting to their experience. Or if you're telling a story, it can help you explain how the noise in the mall was overstimulating to you. But what's more powerful for a storyteller is to understand the word and the meaning behind the word. It's important so that you can see how you can't let the heart of your story be drowned in the noise. Cacophony is the enemy of great storytelling, but it's not necessarily one that should be killed. Instead, it might be better tamed. We can use cacophony to our advantage. Think of Macbeth. When in a feeling of panic, Lady Macbeth is sleepwalking. And what does she shout? She shouts, "Out, damned spot! Out, I say! 1, 2, why then? 'Tis time to do it! Hell is murky!" Her thoughts have no order. The cacophony comes from the way the scene is written. It's used to disorient, to jar, to show the chaos of her feelings. We can, in the same way, use language that may not be proper or order sentences in ways that are incorrect, that's in massive air quotes, to create cacophony that leads to something melodic in the end. So cacophony can be beneficial, and we should use it, because cacophony may in fact be the grandest expression of the true nature of our world. For how rare is it that in this world we find harmony? And how common is the cacophony? It is for us, as storytellers, to pick out the beauty and emphasize the right parts, turning the cacophony and the noise on its head and letting out a single sound and letting that stand out. You have been listening to Just Another Word podcast with your host, Timothy Vigil. For more information, go to timothyvigil.com.